What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have a DiPT slash DMT chirp report for you. The title of this chirp report is Fusion, and was submitted to Erowid in 2019 by the user Diode. With all that being said, let our story begin. I took the DiPT on an almost empty stomach and followed with a light meal. Despite this, the onset of the chemical only began at the 1 hour mark, in contrast to a previous trial where the effects had been evident within the first half hour and fairly developed by an hour. I also have to say that the come-up of this dose was far more noticeable than my previous 30 milligrams, which really crept up on me. The response was quite a bit stronger than the previous trial, and the mental aspect was at times psilocin-like. I'm typing this at the 12th hour, and I'm completely cleaned out, aside from a mild headache caused by dehydration and anorexia, which is interesting considering I had no issue managing sustenance with 30 milligrams. This was a big step in terms of audio effects too. Time distortion was also rather extreme, and I didn't even make it outside. In my defense, winter is in its second wind here. It's now the morning after, and I have no residue in the ears at all. Magnifique. T plus 0. Take 45 milligrams of DiPT orally in a capsule and go for a long shower, as is my ritual for the onset of psychedelics. 45 minutes in, shower is over and I'm cleaned up, but still no audio or passable mental effects to be noted. I am hungry, so I eat a bowl of vanilla yogurt, granola, and grapes. An hour and 30 minutes. Everything is bending now. I can feel the drop in the tones in everything around me, and a moderate tryptamine buzz rolls over me. A pinch of tachycardia sets in. I lay back and chill with my eyes closed, listening to music on my sound system in low light, and I noticed closed eye visuals crawling in a bit, akin to what I get when I close my tired eyes after a long night of cannabis. Small wisps of purple, blue, and red color collect together in strands and form a simple would-be wooden chair. The outline of Adolf Hitler is drawn out by the wisps, and it zooms in on his face. It's entertaining, but I open my eyes because it's a rather hollow, bare-bones vision, if I'd even call it that. There's no open-eye visuals worth mentioning. Go back to manipulating the music and talking to friends on IM and IRC. 2 hours and 30 minutes in. The effects ramp up quickly, and I notice the sensation in the inner ear. I pay little attention to it, and it pays little attention to me. Audio effects are far more bizarre than 30 milligrams. Music is still very interesting and dynamic, so listening pleasure is not reduced but enhanced, mostly because of the way audio actually affects you on this chemical. Sounds have impact. You pick up everything, and you pick it up a lot differently than you do sober or on other chemicals. It's really a very different thing that I have never found with anything else. Musically, harmony still seemed to retain itself in some bizarre way amongst the drastic shifts in sound that took place. But there was definitely some objective destruction of actual tonal relationships. There was a big retimbering of sounds, including my own voice, which had some dusty vibrato attached to it that I cannot describe adequately. My brother sounded like the local bridge troll, and his voice seemed to boom. The shift to the DiPT zone is pretty much complete, and I've settled in. Or out, ? 3 hours and 30 minutes in, I've been enjoying myself and having some wild conversations with friends that's putting me in a good space. This stuff pumps out awesome euphoria and a very concise stream of thought, in contrast to psilocin in my experience. I am more or less at the peak, so I decide it is an apt time to introduce DMT, as I've been compelled to ever since I first tried DiPT. I put on a selection of Mount Kimby tracks and load 22 milligrams of DMT into my rig that is dedicated to the chemical. I vape the DMT and hold it in until it kicks in. On exhale, and the breath in the room shifts into new zones of DMT that were certainly distinct from its standalone. The music becomes even more bizarrely shifted and confident in itself. Can't explain. And the bass from my subwoofer translates itself into an enveloping vibration / sensation that almost felt like a bass entity. The ceiling spins like clockwork to the music. The paint trip tilting on my roof becomes a fractal mosaic of tree-like appendages that twirl and coil into and out of themselves. My room becomes awash in purples, blues, and reds, as I am sucked into closed-eye visual. This was not a breakthrough, nor was I attempting for one. However, the closed-eye visual response was so strong that it may as well have been. The CEV was perceived within the entirety of my human anatomy, the human silhouette. I can only really explain this as if you had a photosensitive membrane lining the inside of a hollow 3D model of me. Here is what followed. I closed my eyes, and all I could see was my bottom row of teeth. The left rear molar vibrant red, and the right rear molar violet, with the remaining spectrum comprised in the teeth that lie in between. As the DMT hit completely, a pulse was sent from left to right that rang each tooth in a descending note like a smooth drag across a large metallophone. There was no release after each tooth was struck, so a chord-like effect was created. A really beautiful sound. After all the notes rang, my body was filled with the forms of two opposing entities. One was female, blue on the left, and the other male, red on the right. With massive energy, they swirled and chased each other within me until they balanced each other's size and position in such a way that their faces touched at the lips. A kiss. When they kissed, their blue and red alignments met, and a purple beam, or river, shot out with a sound of some sort of alien spectral acceleration. I felt an immense upward sensation that seemed to yank all of my being upward toward the direction of the river. I followed the purple beam inside me, and it began to create the outline of a man. The man was the Hermetic idol, Hermes Trismegistus. I heard a sort of throat singing in the background that was not part of the music I had been listening to. Although the being didn't seem to produce the song, it was coming from him, certainly. He held an ankh in his left hand and an old book in his right. I felt a supreme connection of thought and being with the form, and my vision zoomed in on the vibrant purple outline of his face. His expression was a frown and a smile at the same time. He was the portrayal of the ultimate duality of man, and held the visage of pure hypostatic union, just like the panto creator of Jesus that is found in St. Catherine's Monastery. The primordial hermaphrodism of man, personified in this epic chimera of a being. It was so pure and resolute. +4. We held gazes, and there was a massive relay of message and understanding that I simply cannot detail here. After this, I was in awe and incredibly humbled by his form and energy, along with the opportunity to be a conduit for such an experience. My awareness, my perception passed perfectly through his face, so my eyes passed directly through his. And then they opened. Residual DMT visuals wisping the room. They soon subside. This was the most resounding psychedelic experience I have ever had. It will stay with me forever in perfect memory. It's worth noting that I have been having issues with my lower jaw being out of alignment. Post the DMT experience, it seems as if this has been cured, or at least suspended, even as I'm typing here the morning after. I won't speculate anything, but I know my own body. A change occurred. 4 hours in. Time is heavily distorted after the DMT comes out. There actually appears to be a few hiccups in time where the music and my own thoughts would slow to a halt for a millisecond, speed up slightly to make up for it, and then return to normal DiPT sound work. Despite this, my timeline is sound, in hindsight, because I have the logs of conversation I had online with friends. I feel quite stimulated afterwards as well. I am still absorbing what has happened. It was just so much to take in. DMT is always a lot to take in. But with DiPT, it was an entirely new ballpark. The two interacted on an unbelievable scale of sound and vision. I put on some soothing instrumentals and kick back, basking in the immense sound and sensations therein. A few hours pass, and I begin to level out a bit. Mental effects and euphoria die down to low levels, and I take a couple pulls of cannabis from my rooster apparatus to bring in some different sound. Cannabis adds a new spectrum of distortion and timbres to DiPT. It's just a little more wild and unorganized. A much wider phase. After cannabis, like my previous experiment, I notice a shift in gustatory and olfactory sensation. My saliva is metallic and sweet at the same time. Cannabis smoke tastes and smells sugary with a metallic tinge, so that's probably what flavored my saliva. It's not unpleasant, just bizarre. For some reason, I don't explore food, even though I should have, as I was quite hungry. I also do not hydrate appropriately during these few hours. Like aforementioned, I also didn't make it outside like I had wanted. Too distracted by the effects. I paid for the lack of sustenance with a headache. I did, after succumbing to the head pain, eat and drink appropriately. 7 hours in. A couple of friends are getting together, and I decide I'm at a good level and I'd like to go out with them. I call up Jay, and his voice is dropped with a fluttering timbre I chalk up to the phone. Jay and T come pick me up, and we go to T's house and hang out with his girlfriend and D. For a short while, everyone's voices are still a little ogreish, but it begins to drop out very quickly. Within the next hour, I am completely cleaned out of DiPT's effects. I am exhausted by the day, but feel amazing about the experience. No residue in the ears like my 30 milligram trial. Worth noting. 10 hours in, Jay and I trek back to his house and smoke some cannabis and eat some pizza. I feel only the cannabis, as DiPT has not left a trace of itself by this hour. A few hours after, I fall asleep. I sleep well, but it's dreamless. I normally dream very vividly, but after an intense psychedelic experience, my dreams are usually blocked from me, probably for ease of mind and resting purposes. I woke up about an hour ago. It's currently 8:30 a.m., 20 hours and 30 minutes in, and I have no residual effects whatsoever. Ears are totally normal. A fantastic experiment and experience. Will be repeating at the same levels. All right, everybody. That is the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share with us your DiPT experiences down below in the comments. Check out the other videos and playlists on my channel. And I will see you in the next one, fam. Deuces.